Hello everyone, my name is Romaine Murray. For my oral presentation, I will be arguing on the topic Online Learning Does More Harm Than Good. To effectively elucidate the drawbacks to online learning, let me proceed by defining it. Carolina 2008 defines online learning as education and other supportive resources that are available through a computer. These technological resources include smart devices, the World Wide Web, audio and video conferencing, which should be made available and be fully functional. Undeniably, online learning has its place in instruction, but its crippling effects on the teaching learning process should not be ignored. It was William J. Clinton who said that it is dangerously destabilizing to have half of the world on the cutting edge of technology while the other half struggles on the bare edge of survival. It is against this background that I stand in firm agreement that online learning does more harm than good, since it augments the scope of digital divide, generates isolation in students, and impacts lesson delivery. First and foremost, it augments the scope of digital divide. One way is through unstable Wi-Fi connectivity issues. Teachers and students in rural or underdeveloped areas have no cell towers, and some have to stay with relatives or friends to access stable Wi-Fi to avoid missing classes and assignments. Sadly, I fell victim spending 3 days at a relative's house just to meet my deadlines, but that's me. What about those who are not so inclined? Won't they be left behind? There is a lack of equity and accessibility to technology. Some teachers and students are not in possession of technological devices, highlighting the inequity facing the education sector. Statistics also show at the Ministry of Education that an estimated 148,000 students on the PATH program, 600 special needs, 94,900 who are not on PATH, and 4,500 in state care homes receiving devices. Commendable, isn't it? However, this still represents only a small fraction of the population. Power outages also contribute to the digital divide since technologies rely on electricity. Patanjali and Matsai 2020. Simply put, a lack of electricity to digital divide is like a car without an engine. It just cannot function. Secondly, it generates isolation in students. Students sometimes feel isolated and abandoned in the virtual environment, especially during prolonged absence of face-to-face instruction. Zunick and Zudicki 2013. This limits social interaction, where the implication of this new norm is frequent interaction with machines. Isn't it troubling that skills already acquired for social interactions are reduced to dependence on technological devices? Ali and Smith 2015 add that the lack of individual interaction results in a breakdown in communication and difficulty communicating and adjusting. It has also led to a decrease in the motivation levels of dependent learners. Zunick and Suzuki 2013 posit that students who lack motivation, unable to organize workload, and learn independently may develop resentments for online learning, further resulting in poor learning habits, decreased productivity, and performance. The gap between teachers and students is also broadened. I can vividly recall one of my students expressing her emerging disconnect from her teachers learning online, with several of her peers echoing similar sentiments. Thirdly, it impacts lesson delivery. Some teachers lack technical skills needed to enhance lesson delivery. As a means of redress, the Ministry of Education conducted only 4 weeks of technology crash course training sessions on Zoom with a capacity of 1,000 persons to provide technical support to 29,000 teachers. Isn't it clear why the challenges still exist? There are also higher levels of absenteeism. Students fail to log in, check into classes, and/or complete assignments. Goldstein et al. 2020. This epitomizes some classes in Jamaica where attendance has been reduced to as low as 25%. It also prohibits effective control of teachers over their classes, since there are higher levels of cheating and plagiarism. Students who blame their lack of participation and absence on connectivity issues, or students with cameras or videos off. How then can teachers know if a child is focused on learning or is otherwise distracted by his environment? Zunek and Suzuki 2013 believe that these modern technologies may have unwillingly triggered these widespread practices. There are those, however, who claim that online classes allow for more flexibility and self-paced learning, since learners can both work and grow professionally as they learn at their own pace. Miller 2019. They also claim to be less pressured completing tasks in comparison to traditional structured classes where concepts are tested afterwards. Online Business School, ND. However, while online learning gives flexibility, it cultivates procrastinators who bask in working at their own convenience, Dull and Satsky 2019, to the point where work is at times overlooked. Also, students do not receive immediate feedback for clarity, corrective measures to be taken, and improvements to be made. Let's examine the facts. Let us face the harsh reality. Online learning does more harm than good. Thank you for viewing. Credit is given to the following sources in preparation for this presentation.